I wasn't going to make a video about the FNAF movie yet because we didn't have enough information, but 3 of the characters just leaked, so now we gotta talk about it. So Slices, put on your aprons and let's bake ourselves a theory. First, let's gather our ingredients. What do we know so far? Well, the only tangible information we got was back in 2020, when Scott told us what the movie wasn't about. On a post to the official FNAF subreddit, he announced that they settled on a screenplay by sharing all of the ones they scrapped. These ultimately aren't useful, so I'm not going to go over all of them. However, when theory crafting for the current screenplay, we can look into the reasons for why they rejected the other ones to think about things we should avoid when predicting what the actual one will be. So, were there any common themes? There were. Repeatedly, screenplays were scrapped due to either being too far removed from the lore of the books or the games, but one of them was scrapped due to being too much of a deep dive into the lore. It definitely seems like they want to stick to the source material without getting lost in the sauce. Also, a few of the screenplays were scrapped if they deviated too far from horror, not meaning that it has to be a constant screamfest, but the critiques used were too much after-school adventure and too much far into action. Another reason they scrapped a few of the plot lines was that there wasn't a strong enough connection between the protagonists and Freddy's. And finally, the most important rejection reason, so I'll read it in full. The Plushies Take Manhattan screenplay. Basic setup, Plushies take Manhattan. Problems, Plushies took Manhattan. Verdict, burned with fire. Now, for real, the actual very important message at the end, but somewhat cryptic, the one they did go with. The Mike screenplay. Basic setup, this makes sense. Why didn't I think of this before? Problems, actually, this is a good mix. It has the best pieces from all the previous screenplays, not really any problems here. All the right characters, all the right motivations, all the right stakes. Verdict, yeah, we're going with this one. It's fun, it's scary, and it has a great central story. So it's the Mike screenplay. This seems like an open and shut case. One problem. Afterwards, he mentioned that they're going to start filming in the spring of 2021. This is a long time ago, and the creation of this movie has passed through a few hands since then. It's been canceled, brought back, switched production teams. There's a good chance this screenplay isn't involved anymore. But even if it wasn't, knowing what Scott liked about it is important because he's a producer and writer of the new movie. So what else do we know? Well, for a long time, nothing. Nothing else. There was radio silence for years. But then, out of nowhere, the CEO of Blumhouse, the new production company for the movie, Jason Blum, posted this bombshell tweet, a picture of an incredibly early design of what looks like Mr. Fazbear himself, with the caption, "It's great to be working with Jim Henson's Creature Shop. Their experience with animatronics is absolutely killer, at Blumhouse." This blew up a lot of Twitter feeds, myself included. There's so much information packed into this one tweet. For one, it was a soft confirmation that they were going with practical effects instead of CGI for the animatronics. This makes someone like me very happy, but it can go either way. But look at that design. I don't know about you, but it looks mighty rotund to me. At first, I thought it was going to be Fredbear, like the original, never before fully rendered Fredbear, due to that big belly. But in hindsight, I think it is Freddy Fazbear. I think he was just beefed up a little bit due to the logistics of making an animatronic be able to be worn in the real world. The main reason I feel this way now is it just makes more sense to be Freddy. However, a possible point of evidence in my favor is the number of toes, as we see 3 toes here just like Freddy. However, we should hesitate to use that because the number of toes on Fredbear is ever-changing. Nightmare Fredbear, a rendition of him we see through the eyes of either Mike, the crying child, or William Afton, it's unclear, has 4 toes. Golden Freddy, the scrapped suit of Fredbear, has 3 toes. Why is this different? Your guess is as good as mine, but these are the same animatronic. Maybe the dream's just inaccurate. I don't know. Regardless, toes get confusing. After that tweet, near radio silence again for 3 months. And then, just last week, we got another bombshell tweet from Jason Blum. Hashtag Jim Henson Creature Shop is working on our animatronics. Emma Tamey is our director. Filming on FNAF starts in February 2023. Boom. So, yeah. Boom indeed. This was crazy news. We went from, oh, they're working on it to, oh, they're filming in February. It's coming up soon. Also, we got a hard confirmation that Henson Creature Shop is working on the animatronics, not just some details that they might be. All this information is amazing, but I didn't have any meat. I didn't make a video on any of this because I'm a theory channel. I need stuff to theorize about. This is all amazing news, and I retweeted it, I was excited, but I didn't have anything to talk about until Wednesday. On October 12th, several sources confirmed a leak of the casting information as well as the elevator pitch of the movie. So I'm just gonna read these out fully. This is the big leak. Hey there, Temporal Space Rytoast here. I just realized I never specified that while 2 sources did corroborate this information, it isn't yet confirmed. So in case this leak proves to be fake, don't be weird, don't be angry, and especially don't harass anybody. Just wanted to clear that up. Basically, be cool everybody, we're speculating with non-confirmed information. Anyways, I've got to go back to the back rooms. The film is looking to cast a male and female lead, and a female supporting lead. The male lead, Mike, is in his mid-20s to early 30s. His character description lends to some plot points for the movie. Riddled with guilt over a tragedy in his past, and now struggling to take care of his younger sister on his own, Mike is low on options when he lands a new job to pay the bills, the security guard at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. Mike is vulnerable with a tough exterior. Though he means well, his obsession with digging for truth may have potentially disastrous consequences. Female lead, Abby, 10. Mike's younger sister, Abby, is inquisitive and brave, with a creative mind and keen intuition. A bit of a loner who keeps her thoughts and feelings close to her chest. She expresses herself primarily through drawings. Growing up without her parents, while being raised by her unreliable brother, Abby has learned to fend for herself. That said, she is still very much a child, emotionally vulnerable, full of imagination, and not without the normal outbursts of a 10-year-old. Female supporting lead, Vanessa, 20s. Vanessa is a police officer who shows up during one of Mike's work shifts. While leading with a bright and sunny disposition, Vanessa has a keen understanding of the dark history and inner workings of the restaurant. Not wanting to reveal too much of what she may know, she works to help Mike survive the night. While the current details do not provide who the studio might be looking to cast, the age range might help pinpoint potential actors and actresses. Five Nights at Freddy's follows a night security guard as he begins to work at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. While spending his first night on the job, he realizes the gig won't be so easy, as the animatronic animals that entertain kids during the day play their own sinister games at night. So yeah, that's huge. But what can we make of all this information? Well, let's mix our ingredients together and see what comes of it. And just a side note, when the news first dropped, I immediately hopped into the bakery to talk about it with the community to try to do some theory crafting. So if you want to be involved in talks like that, or just talks about Pokemon, anything nerdy, we have a Minecraft server, go join the official Rytos Discord over here. It's super fun, I promise. Anyway, plug over. Sorry. When theory crafting about this stuff, I feel like it makes the most sense to start with what we know is most true and most recent. So let's start with that leak. What does it tell us? Right away, Mike and the location makes sense. If Mike is getting a job at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, we're just doing FNAF 1 as a movie. So perfect. But then 2 curveballs come in. Vanessa is here, and suddenly he has a younger sister named Abby that's half his age? My first reaction was this was going to be an Afton family reunion. Mike would be Mike, obviously. Vanessa would be a fake name for Elizabeth, possibly Circus Baby, I'll explain later, and Abby would just be a gender-swapped version of the crying child. But that doesn't hold up for a few reasons. First, Mike's bio states that he's riddled with guilt over a past tragedy. That feels like the bite of 83, right? Like it has to be. Especially if we're taking place sometime in the mid to late 90s, then his brother dying accidentally at his own hands like 10 years ago? Yeah, that would be looming on his mind. So if that's the case, Abby ain't the crying child. She'd be dead. And another reason why that doesn't hold up, if Vanessa is Elizabeth, either none of sister location happened, or Vanessa is a lifelike robot like we see in the novels. And we know this is going to be a practical movie, and that doesn't seem very feasible with practical effects. Maybe it can be. I don't know the ins and outs of these things, but it feels like a stretch. Okay, well then, who the hell is Abby? Well, we know that she grew up without her parents, she's less than half of Mike's age, and she primarily expresses herself through drawings. Side note, I think that might be a cheeky way Blumhouse is trying to incorporate the drawings that we see all over the original locations on the walls. But that's kind of all we know about Abby. The same mystery is clouded around Vanessa. She apparently knows keenly what the animatronics are like, and the dark history of why. Does this mean she knows about the missing child incident, or is she an Afton, and specifically knows about William? It's unclear. What else can we glean about the plot of this game through these leaks? Well, personally, I think it's only going to take place over one night. First off, the elevator pitch says, while spending his first night on the job. And to double down, in Vanessa's description, it states she works to help Mike survive the night. Singular. The last thing that gives us any sort of information is the character designations. It shows that Mike is a lead, Abby is a lead, but Vanessa is a supporting lead. This is an interesting choice to keep in mind. Another one being that there's a possibility that these are the only people we see in the movie. There might be some extras in the background or something, but it only states that the film is looking to cast these 3 roles. Now, I don't know if that's just because casting roles look weird like this, but it could mean that these are the only 3 speaking roles in the entire movie. At least, human speaking roles. And before we can really dive into a speculation, we have to keep in mind the rejection reasons from earlier. Scott and the team behind the movie wanted to make sure that the characters were connected to Freddy's in some way, wanted to stay true to the original source material, but not dive too deep into it. So what can we make of all of this? What is the plot of the movie going to be? Well, I think I've cracked it. So let's pop our mixture into the oven and see what kind of theory bakes out. Sometime in the early 90s, Michael Afton and his younger sister Abby live on their own, and while he's unreliable and has a hard time keeping a job, they make do. Eventually, one of the only decent paying jobs is the night security guard at the local Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, the FNAF 1 location. The only issue is Abby. She's 10. He can't just leave her home alone all night. That's not safe. Luckily, the company is accommodating and lets her stay with him overnight. On the first night, things start going wrong. Mike thinks that a break-in possibly occurred because he's hearing strange noises, so he does as he's supposed to and calls the police. Meanwhile, more things start going bump in the night. It looks like one of the animatronics might have even moved on its own. Finally, Officer Vanessa arrives on the scene, immediately knowing all too well what's happening inside. She uses a payphone outside to get a hold of Mike and Abby through the office phone, and Vanessa begins to act as our phone guy for the movie. She helps us with instructions on how to avoid these robotic nightmares as they become more and more erratic and violent. The machines begin to want to play games with the two, revealing to be nothing more than elaborate murder. They beat these animatronics one by one, slowly getting more lore about the place through the phones by Vanessa. Finally, as they best Freddy Fazbear himself and believe they're home free, a door to the back room slams open, and out comes him, the same animatronic that killed his younger brother so long ago. Fredbear. Mike starts freaking out, possibly even having a panic attack, and somehow Abby saves the day. Either she does something, or seeing her about to get killed gets Mike to redeem himself from so long ago by saving this sibling instead. They escape, and when Mike finally meets Vanessa, she asks him what his name is. He says, Mike. Well, Michael. Michael Afton. Vanessa pauses in shock. Afton? Cut to black. Now that's one possibility, but consider one more. There's a non-zero chance that this guy isn't an Afton at all. He could just be Mike, older brother to the crying child who died tragically in Fredbear's family diner due to his bullying and his friends, not directly related to the creator of that restaurant. Now, this wouldn't affect the movie lore too much, but it would give us more of an explanation on why Michael is so willing to go into Freddy Fazbear's, because now, in this canon, he doesn't know about William Afton or anything that he does. But it could go either way. Regardless, I think this movie is attempting to create a new, faithful, but separate canon for the beginning of the timeline, including the Afton family. Now, just as a refresher, in case you forgot some of the details of the Afton family in the games, I just made a video speculating on exactly what happened right here, so you can go and check that out. As always, shout out to the best patrons, the Toasted Slices, Emberisk, Zenith, Tommy Woodyard, Isle, Raven Eris, Charlie Bean, and Lovey Puppy. And until next time, as always, stay toasty.